Okay. So let's talk about communication. What's something that one of us says that the other person almost always hears the wrong way?
Hi, by the way.
Hey, that's good communication.
So what does one of us say that the other one hears differently?
That the other person almost always hears the wrong way. It's like it's not necessarily meant to be perceived negatively, but the other person perceives it negative or takes it the wrong way.
When you say you're tired, it comes like I know you're tired, but I think selfishly I take it as I'm not attractive. You don't want to be around me. I'm not what you're desiring at that point in time. Because I'm just thinking about me, not you.
Hmm. Interesting. 'Cause that goes down like a deep rabbit hole.
It is
So I literally have to be energetic all the time and not feel any ounce of being tired.
no, but the thing is, it goes back to where, from my standpoint, I'm being selfish in the way I'm thinking, I'm being selfish in the way naturally we're out for ourselves.
Right.
But when you're in a relationship, you have to put yourself, like you have to put others before yourself.
I think, oh no, I can't even think like of a specific phrase that you say, or that there's like, you know what? No, I think of one when you say, hey, we need to talk later. That one, it's like, it'll, I think because over the years, it's not that it's always a negative conversation, but it'll start off positive and then it can go straight into a negative side. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when you say things like that, it makes me anxious and I feel uneasy about having that conversation. Makes me more apprehensive and wanting to close off instead of just like being willing to walk into a conversation like, oh, what do you want to talk about? And I think it's just like the experience that we've had trying to navigate through our conversations in the past.
I think the harder part is that we're literally looking at having the conversations. Still just saying like, no, I don't want to talk, or just ignoring it.
But I think I tend to do that. I think that I tend to well, like withdraw and avoid.
Yeah.
I do. Just because I don't want to feel like you're upset with me.
No, and I see that. And I think though where we started in communicating or talking in our relationship was totally different than where we're at now.
Oh, 100%.
Only because like looking at the big picture, like when we first got married or when we were dating, the other person's always right. You're doing everything you can to just make them happy and to kind of like give them whatever they need. And you want to be this amazing, partner, spouse, girlfriend, whatever it is. And you're doing everything you can. But then once you're in a relationship, you're like, all right, this is long term. I got to benefit from something out of this, but I need you to hear me. I need you to listen to me. And that's where the lack of knowing how to communicate comes in.
But I agree with you. I think though life doesn't always like when it hands you lemons, like you gotta make lemonade, right? But I think that over the years, like when we have been handed lemons when it comes to communication, we neither one of us have handled that with finesse.
And the
And I think that that's where we got to like these certain points where like you have a phrase for me or I have a phrase for you. And I think that that's the difference of like how our communications started and where it's at now.
Yeah. And you got to look at it also like in our professional lives, we communicate a lot.
Yes.
And we have to, for our own work purposes, make sure people understand what we're saying
Mhm.
and make sure that the points get across. But it's weird that when we come at like in home, we don't take that same grace we would give for other people into the home.
Yeah.
It's expected that you should know what I'm thinking. You should know you're my partner. We're gonna deal with this crap or whatever. And you should be able to read my mind by now. 20 years later, you need to understand what I'm already doing. And I'm not giving you that grace and I'm not giving you that patience that I would give a complete stranger
Yeah.
or someone I work with. But in my own home, the person that matters the most for communication, I'm not giving you that same respect.
I would say that that's an inevitable thing, not, and it's not because I'm looking to not respect the communication towards you, but I think I'm exhausted of communication all day long because it gets tiring. But no, you're absolutely right. And But that's the sad part is like, I think that that's what it's a part of what I was trying to explain about the lemons and trying to make lemonade because there have been hard things that we've gone through. And we've had conversations through the hard things. And I think it's taught us how to be better communicators with each other, like understanding how you communicate, understanding how I communicate, and then coming together to fix it. I just wish that like there wasn't a distortion process in that.
Well, you're looking from one lens, I'm looking from another. But the thing that kind of where I'm looking at from my own point of view is our communications evolve.
Yeah,
Because where we were and where we are, completely different spots,
true.
because how we communicate now, it's just breakdown communication alone. Like you are supposed to be listening. Most of society doesn't, and they're already coming up with a defensive response. And I think you and I have gone through the phase of defensive listening, and we still fall into that every now and then, where I'm not listening to you. I'm not being slow to process it couple words in or a couple sentences in, a lot of people already come up with a rebuttal. And it's really sad to see that. And it's sad that that's what we've kind of morphed into in a sense. But looking at it, it's like, okay, well, am I being a defensive listener with you? Because if I'm choosing to be with you for my life, why would you want to attack me? Why would you want to hurt me? Now I get there are other
And she's super
relationships.
sad, because sometimes I think like when we are meaning to have a meaningful conversation, sometimes it's not always that because we want to grow in our jobs about like the things that bother us or what's bugging us. And that tends to highlight sometimes.
Well, and that's just where we fall into like the world's view of how to communicate. And you and I are trying to be good examples for ourselves, our family, as soon as ever watching us, like not even just in our relationship, in our personal lives, but what is true communication? It's, giving grace when someone else is wrong, you know, being humble when you're wrong, and then asking for forgiveness when someone hurts you. I mean, that's really easy to say in just standard communication, but if we're not actively practicing it, it makes it a little bit harder.
There's another question I was thinking about for talking about communication. What's a piece of marriage advice about communication that people say all the time, but it isn't that helpful in real life? I know you and I have talked about this several times, but the happy wives, happy lives one. That's why I thought it'd be good to talk about that.
We don't have enough time.
No, you could squeeze it in. I think that there's a lot to say, but you could bullet point it.
I could bullet point it. I want to hear it from the wife's perspective because I always say it from the guy's perspective. Like a man is meant to lead on a biblical level. He's meant to lead,
Yep.
and on a biblical level, the wife is, meant to help. So it's, being a loving leader and a respected helper, but there's layers to that. And that's a whole nother side
Exactly.
shoot. I kind of want to hear before I answer. I don't
Like
think I've
take
ever
it.
asked you your perspective on
I think as an adult and hearing that, it was more like, oh, that's interesting. So he doesn't get to be happy, but if his wife is happy, then that brings him happiness, or then he doesn't have to worry about having problems with his wife. As long as he can make sure that she's happy and she's getting what she wants, then he'll be okay and he can do his own thing. That's kind of how I perceived it initially. And I mean, I feel like it's a scapegoat. It's a way for a guy to be like, okay, if she's, her love language is like gifts, right? Like if he's just constantly giving her gifts, like she's happy. And then he could still go do X, Y, Z, whatever his pleasure, but he's making her happy. So it's okay. So he'll have a happy life because she's happy.
I guess it can work for a while, but where's the communication?
No, I'm not saying that
No,
this
no,
is the way to go. I have more of a negative perception of it.
I think as I've gotten older, like the goal was to make you happy.
Yes.
And then that means my goal is to have you feel a certain. So your feelings are above maybe being right. Your feelings are more important than, maybe what needs to be done in the family. Because if that's the case, like, well, you want to go on a lavish vacation and that's what's going to make you happy. But now we're broke and we can't afford it.
Yeah.
And, or we're just like, oh, you want a hand, like, honestly, this is a side note. I love the fact that, like, I would love to buy you nice things. And I think it's just been over the years, you've kind of just given up on it. It's like, you don't wear a lot of jewelry. You don't go off of designer bags. I've bought you a couple designer things and you don't use it. You're like, I don't want to ruin it. And I'm like, it wasn't like even your wedding band. I mean, for the longest time, you're like, oh, I don't want any diamonds to fall down. And I was like, I totally get it. But I mean, you don't need accessories to make you stand out. So I get to show you off. I don't need to show off your Hermes handbag or whatever, you know. But I think when I hear happy wife, happy life, it's just an agreement to compromise. I'll compromise with you. I will negotiate with you. I'm going to deal with you instead of I'm going to communicate with you and we are going to live together through this because it's 100% of the time us working together. It's not 50-50. I don't believe this 1 + 1 is 11. It's you're giving as much as you can and me giving as much as I can as often as we can. And it is what it is. Some days it's less, but it's together moving forward.
Well, and that's what I was going to say is that that phrase to me, it sounds isolating because did she get married for her husband to just like there is lights, right? Like lives and like we talked about has lemons. It's not always blissful. There's not always happy things happening. We have deaths, we have accidents, we have health issues. There's so many different things that can go wrong in life in those hard times. Like, oh, as long as she's happy. Well, she's not happy. And those things he's not necessarily able to control. So that sounds isolating for me.
So just going off of that. So if your happiness is based off of emotion then,
Right.
and I'm supposed to make sure that you control your emotions at all times and make sure that cup is filled at all times. Like if you break it down like that, you're like, that sounds miserable.
Doesn't it?
They're just like, nah, like you're
Well, and I can think of countless of women who their husbands have that mentality and you can see how lonely they are, but they have their things or they have their experiences, etc. Whatever it is that makes them happy and whatever floats their boat.
they're idols.
They're idols. And their husband will give them those, but their husband isn't giving them himself. And that's not, and that's
It
why
goes
I
both
say
ways.
it's isolating.
Oh, they're both isolated.
Oh, absolutely. Because where is that companionship of having that helper?
Well, if you were to ask me in the first few years of our marriage, that was a goal. You need to be happy. But I was young and naive.
We were both very young and naive. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's for another.
No, it's just I could go on a tangent for probably an hour just on that.
No, I get it. There's a lot to
I feel
say.
if a husband wants his wife to be happy, he needs to lead. And I see too many guys not leading. And I could say that there was a time that it was easier to just coast. And because you're happy, it seems like I'm leading. I'm providing, but the guy at any amusement park that opens a gate and lets you get on the ride is also providing you access to something, but he's not leading you. So I need to be able to lead you, lead my family. And the thing is, when you have a spouse, it's not that she's just supposed to be submissive and do whatever you say. It's your helper. You need a helper on a biblical level. I need a helper. And that's someone to come beside me, not to be underneath my foot, not to be underneath my control. It's to be beside me. And I need to run things through you to make sure, hey, are we good here? Is this all right? And if you're like, if you agree, then it's like, yeah, I trust you. But if there's stuff that I'm doing that you're like, nah, let's think about this. What about these things? And you give me options at least. I get, hey, did you think about this? And I'm like, yes, but it still leads to us arguing. There's times.
But we're not always going to agree. We're not always going to have the same viewpoint and dance, but that's because we're two individuals with our own mind. And that's why that happens. But I respect that we have our differences. I respect your opinion. I hope yours is mine. And I'm not saying that you don't. I'm just saying that over the years, having those conversations, it's nice to know that we reciprocate the understanding that you're different than me and that we can agree to disagree
Yeah.
at times.
No, it's agree to disagree, but we move forward no matter what.
Like the never go to bed angry.
I mean, there's times that you're going to go to bed because you need to cool off. And I think you need to think before you speak. And I can't think of the scripture off the top of my head, but you literally need to think before you speak. Because if I say something out of emotion, I'm not saying it to protect you. I'm saying it so I'm protecting myself. I'm
Right.
saying it so I'm right. And I mean, like us going to bed angry. Yeah, it's called big toe love. You get the big toe tonight. That's all. That's the only thing touching to you. Like big toe to big toe. Good night. I love you, but I need time to cool off. And usually it's like 3 or 4 hours later, I think, bro. But
So we both can respect that more now that you say that because in the beginning you were seeking to make your wife happy.
so it's
That's right.
weird. It's understood.
No, I was gonna say that I respect it so much more now that we can have those conversations because and then you want that time to cool off because there's that wisdom and that experience now to be like, this is better if I cool off first. Because in the beginning, like we talked about that eagerness to make your wife happy. So it was like, oh, I gotta solve the problem to here now where I needed that time to cool.
And I think that's where now you get the I think now we could see where we've evolved and grown into other phases, other types. I don't know. We'll see how it evolves. Talk to you later.